Hey, welcome back to Have a Good Time. This is your host, John Davey. I realized this morning the first thing that I woke up thinking about was that I had just had a dream that I plugged a set of headphones into a little tangerine, into a peeled tangerine, and I listened to a song, and then I unplugged the headphones from the tangerine and popped it in my mouth. And I was wondering, is that actually possible? Maybe because music is sort of, or the accessibility of tracks makes it sort of a specific track because it's infinitely reproducible. I wonder if you could find a way of giving it, putting some value back in it by making it snackable. So that was my idea. So all of you tech people out there, get on that. Actually, I was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago at one of these brunches about how they can now, they've now demonstrated that they can store information on strands of DNA. So they stored and you can basically put huge amounts of information or data onto DNA. You can encode it, basically. So they demonstrated this by storing a movie and some songs and I think a file of the actual coding onto a strand of DNA. So I wonder if that's actually possible, if you could figure out how to take a snack and put a song on it, take a snack, put a song on it, and make it somehow like listenable or watchable or something. I don't know. You guys get on that project. I'm just the ideas guy, if you know what I mean. So that was one thought I had this morning. Oh, and another thing about that is that they're both they would both be digestible things. In other words, a song is sort of or a track is sort of disposable because it's, like I was saying, it's infinitely reproducible. But the concept of it or the memory of it sticks in your brain, and you walk around after you hear a catchy song, you walk around humming it to yourself or singing it to yourself all day after that. So, but in the same way, a snack is, you eat it and it's gone. It's sort of an instant gratification, but then, your body digests it and gets other things out of it. So they are serving similar functions, which makes them similar in that regard. So I wonder if they're both, if you combine them together, two things that serve a similar function, it's kind of like a double whammy, a 1-2 punch. Maybe you get you get the gratification in the same way, just double the dose, if that makes any sense. So that was my bright idea that I had while I was sleeping. So maybe we'll see what the future holds. And for posterity, anybody who's listening to this in the year 2173 can donate to my my estate on GoFundMe or whatever. I'm gonna take care of my grandkids, or take care of great grandkids or whatever it is, or take care of my memory, which is uploaded to a into the cloud, where I'm living forever with all my memories in my brain. And I'm next door neighbors to Ray Kurzweil. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So anyway, We had some comments from some listeners, and I'm gonna look those up real quick and just address some of them. Thanks for leaving some comments, guys. Whoa, I typed in YouTube and Amazon came up. That's some sort of weird mind control thing. I think the Chinese are actually using my computer while I'm using it, and they just realized, oops, we were looking around on Amazon, but we should let him use his YouTube channel. Okay, I know I'm sort of rambling here, but I'm trying to. So Dustin on YouTube says Mike and I. He's commenting on the daily number 9 episode that's education and the dissolution of a group, and he says. Mike and I talk about education a lot. Actually, I feel that way about most of these. Can't wait till we get to chat again. Thanks, Dustin. And I was thinking, because I figured out a way to. I got this app that I can listen to. Record Skype conversations that maybe I'll give a call to a couple of people and we can make an episode out of that, either through video call or I can just call from Skype to their particular actual phone number, which would be okay too, although the audio quality probably wouldn't be as good in that case. So that was one comment. Thanks, Dustin. We talked a little bit on Facebook about that too. Stefan says, he's talking about the very first episode, which is issues with trust versus issues with untrustworthy people. And where I talked about sort of some distinctions between the two. And that got actually a little bit of a conversation going. And Stefan says, hey, John, Brene Brown used the metaphor of putting marbles in a jar. The more you're vulnerable with someone, the more marbles you can put in their trust jar if they show you they can handle it. It sounds like you're saying that people with full marble jars dumped marbles out on a regular basis. After having that happen, it would seem reasonable to be much more cautious when deciding when and if to put marbles in anyone's jar. Also, I noticed that you mentioned that those people should have been trustworthy, and that's true, I think, but it's not good reason to put trust in people. Not that you would know that as a child. It's not a good reason to, I think he meant not put trust in people. I suppose it just illustrates why a position or kinship is not a good reason to trust someone. Loving the podcast. Thanks, Stefan. I was talking with my fiance Mary about this thing this morning, what Stefan here's talking about, and also on Facebook with Rebecca Osborne. Thanks, Rebecca, for your comments. That was enlightening. It's good to see what's going on for other people in that regard. So my thought was that, I've been reading a lot about learning bit by bit about what are called heuristics, or basically these shortcuts. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but basically, if you have an idea of something that's if you have a depiction of something that's inaccurate, but it serves a function, it sort of helps us to either survive, something in our environment, or to reproduce. So that's kind of the function of these like mental shortcuts that we make up that develop into what you could roughly describe as characteristics or personality traits. I think I'm describing that right. Just remember, I'm just talking about this as a perfect layman, but that's my understanding. So just to sort of get back to this idea of untrustworthiness or problems with trust, it's actually can be described as a survival strategy. Skepticism, I think, is a human trait that arose out of being subjected to uncertain environments, and so that like certain people maybe are better suited to survive a difficult or hostile environment by being more skeptical, and maybe the more skeptical people, had a better survival rate, could last longer, reproduce more, etc. Although I will say skepticism is not a dominant trait in humans. I think it's more of a mutation, if you will. So, which is kind of why, and at least in my experience, when I've encountered other skeptics, it's this sort of, I kind of feel this particular feeling of relief and relaxation, and like, oh, okay, we're both sort of in this together. It's like, it's kind of more that people like that are kind of more of my tribe in a sense than even a lot of the people that I grew up. But it makes sense from the other perspective too, that the more that you're with the tribe, the better chance you have of survival in some of those instances, because strength in numbers, etc. The skeptics, I think skepticism is a useful trait in people maybe who have other characteristics that make it harder for them to gel or mesh with their particular tribe, or let's say their tribe is really small, or they're kind of more like a bear rather than a pack of wolves or something like that, let's say. And the bear kind of roams about by itself, and it'll occasionally find its mate, and they'll spend some time together, reproduce, and then they're sort of back off roaming around together. Whereas a wolf is sort of like a integral part of a pack. So this sort of maybe those are not good examples, but yeah, I think you can follow the progression of where those maybe that mutation of skepticism would occur, where it's like, okay, let's say I'm let me think of a good example. Like, let's say it's just sort of go back to the bears and wolves. Like, maybe there are, wolves in my vicinity. I guess, it's just a basic like fight or flight thing. The skepticism sort of represents the fight, the sort of standing one's ground, if that makes any sense, the fight. Or maybe it even represents the freeze in that equation. So, so basically all that to say of skepticism is that's my hypothesis, is that skepticism is an offshoot or a mutation of other tribal characteristics, and it's probably is better suited for a harsher or more hostile environment. So I think that wraps it up. It's probably been a little longer than 10 minutes today. I just had a lot on my mind and was rolling with conversation a little bit more this morning with my partner, and she also is going to be on the podcast at some point eventually, probably talking about minimalism, or either minimalism or The Walking Dead, which she was into, and she has some interesting thoughts regarding that, and which we can unpack in that podcast. So thanks for listening. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Even if you don't listen to all the dailies, it helps me get the visibility up and stuff like that. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for listening. Keep conversations going. Share these around if you feel like it, and that'd be helpful for me. And I hope you have a good time. This is your host, John Davey. Thanks.